For news, politics, sports, and all things trending.
I want to thank you guys for joining me on the Daily Read. Today is going to be a good show. I'm going to talk about Vladmir Putin. And the reason I'm going to talk about him, I'm also going to go back to Lincoln. Because over time, a lot of things change in the history books about what was written. And it needs to be understood. We're also going to talk about black Jews. Because they recently have started sending a lot of Jews back to Israel. But they was denying the black Jews in Ethiopia. And we all know that Ethiopia has the oldest Bible on the planet. But we're going to get into this. We're going to start the show off right.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
Abraham Lincoln, who was the President of the United States from 1861 to 1865, no doubt has his name in the history books for his crucial role in ending slavery in the country. The story goes that Lincoln stepped into the presidency at a time when the storm clouds of conflict were gathering. The United States was torn between North and South, with the deep chasm of slavery at its core.
Now, the reason I'm starting this off with Lincoln is because I love history. I love seeing the patterns in how people moved back then, how people move today. And the reason I brought up Lincoln is because he saw the patterns too. He went to Europe and was asking about allies to fight against the South. And of course, the Europeans got rid of slavery years before America did. They told him to free the slaves. Lincoln didn't care nothing about black people being in slavery. He did not. He did that because of the war. We finna get into it. It's some interesting stuff.
The southern states clung to the institution of slavery, upon which their economies and ways of life were built. The North, however, increasingly saw slavery as a moral wrong that needed to be abolished. This fundamental disagreement sparked the flames of the Civil War. In the midst of this tumultuous period, Lincoln, with his tall, lanky frame and a face marked by the burdens of leadership, saw an opportunity to change the course of history. On the first day of January 1863, in the war's grim shadow, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation. This historic document didn't immediately free all slaves, but declared that slaves in the Confederate States were to be set free. It was a beacon of hope, a promise of a better future, but its
Listen to what he said. The slaves in the Confederate States were supposed to be set free. He didn't say anything about the Union States.
light could only reach so far. The proclamation applied only to territories still in rebellion, places beyond Lincoln's immediate control. Yet, this act was a masterstroke. It transformed the Civil War from a battle over Union to a profound struggle for freedom. Black men, once bound by chains, now took up arms to fight for the Union, their freedom, and the freedom of their brethren still in bondage. They fought bravely, believing in the cause and in the promise of a nation where all men could truly be free. The war raged on, and with each Union victory, the Emancipation Proclamation freed more slaves. The march towards freedom was slow and fraught with hardship, but it was unrelenting. Then, in the twilight of the war and Lincoln's own life, a new dawn broke. The 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution was passed, abolishing slavery forever. Today, Abraham Lincoln is remembered as the president who took bold steps to end slavery and ensure freedom for all slaves in America. While the act was right by all means, the truth behind it is shocking. Lincoln didn't free black slaves because he believed they deserved to be free, or because he believed they were equal to whites. In fact, Lincoln didn't free black slaves because he believed in black freedom. The shocking revelations in this video go to prove that history can sometimes not reveal the whole truth. Did Abraham Lincoln truly care about black people, or did he see them as a means to an end? Were they just pawns in his war to keep the United States from falling apart? Welcome.
And that's why I played this first, because I wanted you to see exactly who this person is. He was a Republican. I said this 2 years ago, that the Democrats back then, they were the type that would stand on your neck. They didn't like you, they didn't want you around. But the Republicans back then, they were racist too. They were the type of racists that as long as you stayed in your area, they're not gonna mess with you. It's a difference. And that's what Lincoln was. He was one of those racists. You know, as long as you stay over there, have your own economy, we ain't gonna mess with you. And this goes back to escaping the matrix, the feminist matrix. I played Lincoln for a reason. When you have somebody in bondage in a country and a war breaks out, what happens is the people that's in bondage will be able to fight for their freedom and try to destroy you while you sleep. But if you free the people that you have in bondage, that's one less enemy you got to worry about. Let's get back to it.
Group. A month later, the Navy's Marcia C. Day carried the 350 surviving immigrants back to America, arriving in Alexandria, Virginia on March 20th. Also in March, Lincoln signed a bill withdrawing the $600,000 appropriated for colonization, of which the administration had spent only about $38,000. According to Welch, Lincoln's signing of the bill signaled that he was finally abandoning colonization as a viable option for those freed from slavery. Following his reversal of the Ile La Vache venture, Lincoln not only remained silent on the failed Haitian colony, but also never issued another public statement concerning colonization, Welch wrote. Instead, Lincoln began exploring ways to integrate those he had freed into a post-emancipation society. While Ile La Vache was a disastrous failure that led to the deaths of many African Americans, the end of colonization as government policy, with the affair heart and many African Americans who had opposed immigrating to another country. The backlash from black leaders and abolitionists against Lincoln's colonization plans was justified and necessary.
Like I said, there's a reason that I picked this video out first. Lincoln did what he did as a means to an end, which leads up into the last part of this show, which we're talking about Vladmir Putin. The man is a genius. He's a mastermind. He's one of those cartoon character masterminds, but he's a mastermind nonetheless. When I seen that on TikTok, when I saw him open up that vault and bring out those black pictures of Jesus and some of his disciples and other famous people in history, I already knew he's trying to cause division and confusion in America. It's a means to an end. Because now you're going to have a certain population of minorities think he's cool and righteous and go trying to vote for Donald Trump because they know Donald Trump likes Vladimir Putin. This is some other world shit. Pay attention.
Their anger and opposition highlighted the hypocrisy of a nation that claimed to value freedom and equality, while simultaneously contemplating the mass expulsion of its black population. The fact that Lincoln eventually dropped public mention of colonization after the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation does not erase the discomforting reality that such ideas were considered at all. It raises questions about the nature of Lincoln's legacy and the true motivations behind his policies. In wrapping up our examination of Abraham Lincoln's perspectives on race and his support for the colonization of African Americans, it's crucial to confront the uncomfortable nuances of his legacy. While Lincoln is lauded for issuing the Emancipation Proclamation and thereby playing a pivotal role in the abolition of slavery, the motivations behind his actions and his beliefs about racial equality reveal a more complex and less flattering image. Our exploration has uncovered that Lincoln harbored racist ideas, believing African Americans were inferior to whites and entertaining the notion that they should be colonized outside the United States. As we reflect on Lincoln's place in history, it's essential to acknowledge these uncomfortable truths. While he remains a pivotal figure in the American narrative for his role in ending slavery, we must also recognize the limitations of his views on race and equality. The journey towards racial justice is fraught with contradictions, and Lincoln's story is no exception. He was a man of his time, shaped by the prevailing attitudes and beliefs of his era, which included deeply ingrained racism. This brings us to the end of this video.
It was an emotional reunion for the Ezra family as they greeted 28 relatives who they hadn't seen in almost 20 years.
This next clip right here is the black Jews coming back to Israel. And like I said, I played the first video of Lincoln to show you how his dream of colonizing black people outside of America is coming true. It took it took 100 years since the Civil War, 100-something years, but it's happening. The passport movement is for real. Bros are leaving, getting the hell out of here. The cost of everything is too high. And the only people that stuck here in America are the women. And guess what that does? That makes the women in the black community start dating outside of their race in America, because they can't leave out of America like we can. They can legally, they can get their passport and leave, but they can't have the same American ways that's overseas like that. Men overseas is not gonna stand for that. They'll shut that shit down, send you back to America. The whole feminist thing is Canada and America and parts of Europe. Anywhere else you go, they're not playing that. You get to being disrespectful out your mouth, you might get smacked or whipped with a sugar cane. And ain't nobody gonna step in and try to stop it. None of that. They gonna mind their business and keep on moving. That's not coming from a bitter place. That's just reality. Anybody that's been overseas can tell you that. Anybody that's been overseas can tell you that. Women over there are feminine and delicate, like my man said. Now we finna lead up into Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin did this for a reason. And now you have pictures of black Jews coming back to Israel, when at first the white Jews from Europe, because you got to understand, let me break this down for you to understand it. After Adolf Hitler tried to exterminate Jews, because Adolf Hitler wanted a pure white society, blonde hair, blue eyes, and all of that. Adolf Hitler knew that real Jews got black in their blood. They're black people. But the Jews in Europe that Adolf Hitler was exterminating were white people. Because they had been in Europe so long, they start intermingling with the white race. Understand how this is playing out. When they crucified Jesus, all of the black Jews fanned out across Africa. Some went to Europe, started fleeing. The few Jews who were left were put under the thumb of, certain dictators and rulers. They started changing, started becoming whiter, because the European blood was mixed in with these people. After the war, we took them back to Israel. The European Jews, we took them back to Israel. They didn't go and get the real black-skinned Jews from Ethiopia and other places. We even got some black Jews here in America fighting to get back and be settled in Israel. So this clip right here is showing they're allowing a few black Jews back into Israel. It's all a master plan. Let's continue on.
5 brothers who had remained behind in Ethiopia arrived in Israel with their families on a special flight organized by the quasi-governmental Jewish agency.
I want to thank everyone who helped make this.
Look at that woman. She looked like somebody's elementary school teacher. Miss Johnson down the road or something. Look at her.
Dream come true and gave us hope.
They were welcomed by Israeli Minister of Absorption Pnina Tamano-Shata, herself an Ethiopian immigrant who came to Israel as a child.
It is the time that the sky is open and that this pain that I see every day, mothers and fathers that crying here in Israel and children that crying there in Ethiopia, will be stopped.
That mission is to bring the last 3,000 Ethiopians with family ties to Israel, many of whom have been waiting decades to join their relatives.
Listen what they just said, decades. They've been white Jews in Israel. They've been bringing Jews back to Israel for decades, but they excluded the black people that are Jews. There's a reason Vladmir Putin did what he did. Let's continue on.
This latest airlift is being funded by both the Israeli government and American Jewish organizations. Last year, the Israeli government promised to reunite families and rescue Ethiopian Jews from Ethiopia's war. But the escalating war is just one reason for this mission, according to some Israeli analysts.
I think it has to do, as so many things do, with internal Israeli politics and those in the coming election. I think that's much more relevant than anything that's happened in Ethiopia recently.
Ethiopia's war is centered in the northern Tigray region. Most of the Ethiopian Jews are from Gondar in the nearby region of Amhara. Officials say they are not directly threatened by the war, but it does have an indirect effect.
We see the cost of living increasing because of the war and the financial problem that the Olim are facing in Gondar and in Ethiopia, and we are more and more challenged with that cases.
But some Ethiopian Israeli activists say that Israel has an obligation to rescue thousands of Jews remaining in the Tigray war zone, even if they are not.
Them real Jews right there. The real Jews. Not Benjamin Netanyahu. He's a European Jew. These people right here are Jesus's people. These people right here.
Not on the list of those recognized for family reunification.
Look at Ukraine. The state of Israel has rescued not only Jews from the war there, but refugees too. I support that as a moral person. But why aren't they bringing the Jews from Tigray to Israel?
Israeli officials say they see their mission as helping any Jew in distress, and they will continue these flights from Ethiopia for the next few months. Linda Gradstein for VOA News, Tel Aviv.
Have you ever seen or heard of biblical icons where Jesus or the Virgin Mary have dark skin, or even Abraham or King David? Then look beyond Europe. Russia has opened its vaults to reveal biblical icons featuring darker-skinned figures. In case this is making you wonder if Russia has its own twist on biblical figures, the answer is a no. This is not the case at all. This is, a matter of fact, as real as the untouched horizon of time. These icons aren't just artistic anomalies. These hold deep meanings of hidden shaded truths, sparking serious, curious questions about history and faith, representation, and the unexpected corners of religious art. Pay close attention, amazing people. You are just about to hear it today, like...
This is going to test the faith of a lot of white people. Not black people. We've known for decades that Jesus was black. It's already been murmured through the halls and the breezeways of black communities all across this country. But this is going to test the faith of white people. And this is not coming from a place of racism. I'm not hating on white people. I don't want y'all to think that. If you believe in the Bible, you believe in the Bible. If you're a Christian, you're a Christian. But this is going to test some of these people's faith. Because now the real is coming out that white Jesus that everybody used to seeing, that's not the real Jesus. I wonder how many homes is going to take that picture down and put a black Jesus up.
It is, in this video. Before we continue, kindly endeavor to hit that like button as a way of supporting our works. Share with your families and friends to keep spreading our eye-opening black narrative, and subscribe to Stay Put for more, while you help in building the rising membership of this channel. We appreciate your support. First and foremost, let's start with the person of the most popular name in the world today, Jesus. Mark chapter 4 verse 22. For there is nothing hidden which shall not be manifested, neither anything kept secret that would not be brought to light. For centuries, the most common image of Jesus Christ, at least in Western cultures, has been that of a bearded, fair-skinned man with long, wavy, light brown or blonde hair and often blue eyes. But the Bible doesn't describe Jesus.
That is the European version of Jesus. That's the European version of him. And it's amazing. The reason why I say it's amazing is because the Jews that's running Israel are white Jews from Europe. The land that they've taken by killing the Palestinians. Watch what I tell you what they're going to do. They're going to take these black Jews and put them out there in Palestinian lands and say, here, take this land for the people. For the Jews, resettle this land. They've wiped out a large population of Palestinians out there. And now they're going to put these black Jews right there on the front lines. Watch what I tell you. And it's going to be a danger zone. The Palestinians, they're going to come back.
Physically. And all the evidence we do have today indicates that he probably looked very well different from how he has long been portrayed. The Good Book offers few clues about Christ's physical appearance. Most of what we know about Jesus comes from the first 4 books of the New Testament, the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. According to the Gospels, Jesus was a Jewish man born in Bethlehem and raised in the town of Nazareth in Galilee, formerly Palestine, now northern Israel, during the 1st century. We know that Jesus was about 30 years old when he began his ministry. So tells us the Bible book of Luke chapter 3 verses 23. But the Bible tells us virtually nothing about what he looked like, except that he didn't stand out in any particular way. The historical Jesus likely had the brown eyes and skin of other 1st century Jews from Galilee, a region in biblical Israel. But no one knows exactly what Jesus looked like. There are no known images of Jesus from his lifetime, and while the Old Testament kings Saul and David are explicitly called tall and handsome in the Bible, there is little indication of Jesus' appearance in the Old or New Testaments. In addition, when Jesus was arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane before the crucifixion, Judas Iscariot had to point Jesus out to his soldiers among the disciples, presumably because they all appeared similar to one another. But the words of the Bible in itself did not hint on the reasons behind their similarities. Whether they were white or black, or why or how they looked too similar, it did not tell. Considering these events, one is made to actually wonder, were these words deliberately expunged from the Bible to hide certain glaring truths, or did the writers of the good book of the Gospel fail to discuss these things?
Let me stop that again. This is very important, people. If you go back and look at the Tribune of Nicaea, they took out certain things out of the Bible. A lot of the people in Rome were light-skinned people because Rome is part of Europe. And when they made Christianity what it is today and turned the last emperor into the Pope, the first Pope, I think it was Emperor Constantine II. When they turned him into the first Pope, there were certain things excluded from biblical text. And what he's saying is he wonders if this was one of them. This is some deep stuff.
However, the portrayal of Jesus as a white European man has come under renewed scrutiny during this period of introspection over the legacy of racism in society, and over the actuality of truth. One of the major factors of this renewed scrutiny happens to come with the buzzing news concerning certain storming revelations from Russia. For some time now, the recentness of this event has got everyone talking in wonderment.
Russian President Vladmir Putin has decided to move one of Russia's holiest icons from a museum to a Moscow cathedral. This arises a debate around Putin's growing reliance on the church.
Emphasizing on the...
This is a means to an end. That's the reason why I played President Lincoln's, bio at the first of this video. Freeing the slaves was a means to an end. If you notice a pattern here, a lot of these world leaders are geniuses. They're geniuses. In order to move an economy, and this is why I think Joe Biden is doing so well. He's been in Congress for so long. That's not saying he's an intelligent man. That's not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying that. That's not saying he doesn't have a bigoted past. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, in order to move an economy, millions of dollars, factories, oil, gold, silver, the stock market, jobs. In order to move all that stuff and keep everything flowing, you got to have a deep knowledge of this stuff. And Joseph Biden has it. Regardless of whether people don't like him or not, he has it. Compared to Donald Trump, who's a businessman, a failed businessman. This is the crazy part about that. Everything he touched, he ruins it. Everything. And Vladimir Putin is just like Lincoln. What he's doing is a means to an end. This is a play to cause confusion and chaos in American society. You're gonna have black people out here thinking that this man is just the coolest shit on earth to bring out black Jesus. and tell all his people that he's worshiping, that they're worshiping, if they're Christian, black Jesus. This is powerful. This is psychological warfare. I had some people try to put psychological warfare on me. It didn't work. They lame for that. That's what this is. This is psychological warfare. Because, number one, like I said, it's going to cause the black population, to like or love Putin. And it's going to cause a lot of doubt about religion in a lot of the white population. It's going to cause confusion. And that's what he wants. He's not worried about his country. He's worried about money going to Ukraine. And he knows if Donald Trump gets elected, Ukraine might get overran. Ukraine might not be a country anymore. It might be a part of Russia if Donald Trump gets back in the presidency. This is a powerful move. He's a genius. It's what you call a master stroke. Let's get back into it.
Importance of the holy icon, Putin ordered Andrei Rublev's Trinity be transferred to the Russian Orthodox Church from Moscow's Tretyakov Gallery for a year. The relocation of Russia's most well-known icon highlights how closely the war has intertwined politics and religion. The icon depicts the Oak of Mamre, where the three angels visited Abraham in the book of Genesis.
Did you notice anything about these icons on display? They are all black. Icons dating back to the 14th century, brought together from private collections across Russia. Rare and strongly challenging masterpieces, most of which were destroyed during the Soviet era.
It's very beautiful. It gives you goose pimples. It's a remarkable exhibition.
It's an exhibition which feeds the senses. Everything is so grey outside at the moment, and here suddenly it's a feast for the eyes.
Now, I wonder how much of the population, now I'm talking about white people, how much of the population is going to lay down Christianity? Because the far right is something not to be played with. They're very Christian-based religious people. And this is going to challenge a lot of those people's beliefs. To go home and see that white picture of Jesus on your wall, knowing that that's the lover of the guy who painted that picture. This is going to test a lot of people's faith.
These icons that you see are the survivors of what is left. Had the museums not saved them, they wouldn't be existing today. There used to be millions of these icons, but now only 50,000 of them are within sight. The unveiling of these icons is a powerful testament to the enduring strength of truth. The authenticity of these paintings compels us to re-evaluate our understanding of the past, particularly regarding the presence and representation of black figures. For centuries, these figures may have been shrouded in obscurity, but their rediscovery sheds light on previously untold stories, standing as a challenge to long-held assumptions, prompting us to rewrite history with a more inclusive lens. Many Russian icons were destroyed or sold abroad by agents of the Soviet government. Some were hidden to avoid destruction or were smuggled out of the country. Since the fall of communism, numbers of icon painting studios have again opened and are painting in a variety of styles.
This is deep. This is going to test a lot of the Catholics too, because they have a vault under the Vatican that nobody but like archaeologists and scholars can go down there. You know, and you have to be of a certain age. I don't know what the world that has to do with it, but I think you have to be like 65 or older to go into that vault and see what's in that vault. I wonder how many of these pictures of black Jesus is in that vault. This is some off the wall stuff here.
For the local and international market. Many older, hidden icons have also been retrieved from hiding or brought back from overseas.
The Castel San Angelo in Rome is currently hosting an exhibition of 40 Russian icons that have left their country for the first time. They are pieces of art that were hidden after the October Revolution of 1917 in order to protect them from anti-religious destruction.
It's the first time that a large number of Russian icons have come here to Italy. In addition, here are a dozen examples that have never before been moved. They appear for the first time in our catalog.
Anti-religious movement. Now, why would they destroy a black painting of a religious person? Anti-religious movement. How does that even start?
Icons are usually painted on wood and meant to represent saints or sacred elements. The Orthodox tradition considers them as if they were the gospel, inspirations of God through the hand of the artist. Their deep symbolism is reflected from the meaning of icon as a representation or vision from another world. The wood evokes the Holy Cross through its gold background, divine light, and the cloth attached to the wood evokes the cloth that covered the body of Jesus Christ.
Without a doubt, they have a great importance and a fundamental recognition in Russia, because the icons represent for Russia what the pyramids represent for Egypt, or the temples to the Greeks.
The exhibition shows icons ranging from the 15th century until the early 20th century. It's a rare opportunity to see the religious soul of Russia through its...
There's been so much debate going on around the world of late, bestirred by the unveiling of these black biblical icons. Some tend to think that the icons had blackened over time due to age, while others say that the blackness of the icons has nothing to do with age but are a measure of accuracy meant to depict the actual color of the skins of the people painted. Because they were black people, says Robert Rubin. Why didn't their clothes change to black in those paintings or all of the paintings? The true Israelis were black-skinned people, not white. Likewise, the ancient Egyptians. The Reshet structure in Mauritania is also the location of Atlantis. Russians did not change their paintings just as other countries did. They simply kept the true paintings and iconography. Look up ancient maps and you will see that the Kingdom of Judah was later located in West Africa. The Jewish nation was destroyed by Titus. Millions of Jews fled into Africa. They ended up in the west of Africa. From there they were sold as slaves to almost every part of the world. Do you think the hatred for black people is just normal or a coincidence? No. It was because they, Israelis, did not keep the commandments of God. Moses informed them of the blessings and curses, as we can see in the Bible book of Deuteronomy. God told them they will lose that land to people whom they did not know if they disobey him. The hatred for the black children of Ham and Shem is because the children of Shem have mixed up with the children of Ham. They are both black-skinned. The prime target of this hate is actually the children of Shem. Shem is being punished for his disobedience to his God.
I'm gonna stop it right there. Now, understand understand what this man is saying. Okay? This is some deep stuff. This man, and you gotta excuse me, my light's out. But this man is saying basically that Ham and Shem, when they fled from Israel, the black-skinned Jews, they started interbreeding with Southern Africans. That does not mean that you black people here in America, like me, is Jewish. We are not Jewish. Most of the African slaves were from Southern Africa. I'm going to say that again for the people in the cheap seats. Most of the African slaves that came across here on them boats, the African slaves that survived, were from Southern Africa. They were not Moors. Moors was from the northern part of Africa. Moors were slavers. They were not Moors. We were not Jewish. None of that. We were not Egyptian. You see a lot of people trying to put ankhs all on their body and big hoop earrings. We were none of that. We were Southern Bushmen. That's what most of the slaves in America came from. Most of them. Not all of them, but most of them. But now that they're bringing black Jews back to Jerusalem, it's finna be a problem. Because a lot of the white Jews from Europe that we put there, they don't want them people around. It's crazy. It's finna get serious.
Another insightful one from Johnson here says, because black people were the people in the Bible that the Americans turned white when they told the stories to us. But Russians didn't get the memo. They went off for real history. Songs of Solomon. Chapter 1 verse 5. Revelations chapter 1 verse 15. Go check it out. It's in the text. It's not because of a candle or anything else these people are talking about. In that case, the whole picture would be black, not just the face and the hands. They are meant to be black because they were black people. This great USA is also a great deceiver, and so many people inherit the wrong lesson from their great-grandparents and their parents, to the point where it's so deep that the lie is made true when the real answer is really just right there. But you never look, because why would you? The Russian unveilings didn't stop there. Russia continues with its biblical historical revelations, with President Putin at the foremost front, championing the course. Russia has opened its cellars to reveal remarkable paintings of Jesus dating back to the 1400s.
By Father Vladmir Ivanov. This is a book that is highly coveted by different circles because it has the black icons. It has the history of black people in places like Russia and Italy.
Now, this is what I mean when I say, Vladimir Putin is just like Lincoln. This is what I mean. The reason why I played Lincoln, because I want you to see how this is a means to an end. Vladimir Putin has something up his sleeve, just like Abraham Lincoln has something up his sleeve. It wasn't because he liked black people. It wasn't because he felt bad about black people being enslaved. He wanted to stop the South, because the South could have pumped out black soldiers to fight for them year after year after year and wore the North down. But once he said something about freedom, now the South, the Confederates, got a problem. They got potential enemies in their house. They got to get rid of these people or something. Because you turn a slave free, he's going to rise up against his masters. And they didn't want that. Vladimir Putin, this is a master stroke. And I'm still trying to figure out the pattern. Something's coming. I don't know if it's this election or the next election, but something's coming. For him to bring this stuff out the vault, he's up to something.
Prominent conservative figures. King clarified that he was only advocating that statues of a white Jesus be torn down in response to a tweet from the account of PragerU, a non-profit co-founded by conservative talk show host Dennis Prager. He also remarked that stained glass windows and other images of a white Jesus, his white mother and their white friends should all be destroyed, insisting they are racist propaganda and a gross form of white supremacy. King shared an image of a darker-skinned Jesus that appeared in a 2002 Popular Mechanics article, which scholars believe may be more accurate than those showing Jesus as a European. He commented that the image would have been intolerable for white Americans who participated in slavery. Experts have long since said that this is likely the most accurate depiction of Jesus. White Americans who bought, sold, traded, raped and worked Africans to death for hundreds of years in this country simply could not have this man at the center of their faith. Sean King further tweets, June 23, 2020, a day after he had tweeted his support for the destruction of all white-statued Jesus. A tweet by Jenna Ellis, a lawyer.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Oh my God. If they start tearing down white Jesus pictures and statues, oh my God. They got mad when they started tearing down Confederate statues. This is going to be off the chain. it's going to cause confusion and chaos in America.
Lawyer representing President Donald Trump warned that she would not break if they try to cancel Christianity, although it's unclear if it was in direct response to King's tweet. Regardless, King responded that what the lawyer was actually defending here is her whiteness. Christian whiteness needs white Jesus, King tweeted to Ellis. It's not about generosity or kindness. It's not about protecting the vulnerable. It's about whiteness itself. Attack white Jesus to her, and you attack her faith. Statues have been torn down and destroyed amid ongoing protests against racial injustice and police brutality that have swept the nation these recent years, counting from 2020. Although statues and monuments paying tribute to the Confederacy have been primarily targeted, statues of other figures from early American history have also been taken down. The movement to take down and deface controversial statues has gained traction in the UK, as well as Europe and the US, but has divided public opinion, with critics slamming it as mob rule, while others applaud it as a way of addressing systemic racism. Justin Welby, the Archbishop of Canterbury and head of the Church of England, has said the Church should reconsider its portrayal of Jesus as a white man. Speaking to the BBC Today programme, Welby was asked whether the way the Western Church portrays Jesus needed to be thought about again and...
This is big. Oh my God. I didn't see this whole video, but I knew it was big. This is big. When you got the man who preaches at the King and Queen's church, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and he's a powerful figure. He's not the Pope, but he's like one step under the Pope. He can get on a phone call with the Pope ASAP. This is big. Can you imagine walking in a white church where they done took the stained glass down, took the white Jesus down, and put a black Jesus up? It might be some white people that won't go to that church no more. This is going to test a lot of people's faith. Not black America. You still going to have black America going to Baptist church, Methodist church. This is going to test a lot of white people's faith.
Reimagined. Yes, of course it does, he said, adding that Jesus was portrayed differently in countries around the world. He was regularly in touch with Anglican church leaders from around the world, he said, who did not portray Jesus as white. You go into their churches and you don't see a white Jesus, you see a black Jesus or Chinese Jesus or a Middle Eastern Jesus, which is of course the most accurate. Welby added that the representations of Jesus were not, however, who we worship, but rather served as a reminder of the universality of God who became fully human. Addressing calls for monuments with links to the UK's imperialist history and slave trade to be removed, he said statues in Canterbury Cathedral would be put under review. The question about whether they should all be there arises, of course it does, and we've seen that all over the world. He continued, "We're going to be looking very carefully and putting them in context and seeing if they all should be there," says Justin Welby. In closing, the unveiling of these black icons serves as a powerful reminder that history is often shrouded in darkness, but truth has a way of shining through. These artifacts compel us to re-examine our understanding of the past and challenge long-held narratives. If their authenticity is confirmed, the paintings offer a glimpse into a previously unknown facet of history, forcing us to confront the complexities of representation. This discovery stands as a testament to the enduring power of truth, shattering the towers of misinformation and prompting a re-evaluation of the stories we tell ourselves about the past. That brings us to the end of yet another video.
I want to thank you guys for joining me on the Daily Read. I know it's dark. I'm going to get my light. I'm going to get my ring lights in here. But understand this. This is a master stroke by Vladmir Putin. The man's a genius. He's diabolical, but he's a genius. This is finna shake up the world. And the reason why I played Abraham Lincoln at the first of this is because some of these world leaders are geniuses. They look at the big picture. I strive to look at the big picture, but sometimes when you get caught up in the patterns, of life, you don't look at the big picture. This is a manipulation move by Vladimir Putin for votes. This is the Daily Read, and I'm out.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports,